Who is Francisco Franco?
Francisco Franco was a Spanish general with national beliefs. He ruled over the Spanish Republic during the Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865. After the Civil War had come to an end, he ruled from 1939 until 1975 as a dictator of Spain. Before he rose to become the dictator of Spain, Franco was enrolled in the Academy of Toledo and graduated with below average grades, so therefore he had no choice but to enroll into the military if he expected to make a decent life. After deciding to enroll into the military, he became a posting bag in a war that was involved with Spain. During this war, he survived a gunshot wound. Later on, he overthrew the Spanish democracy. He established a military dictatorship republic in the Spanish Civil War. At the age of 33, he became the youngest general in Europe, and he was assigned to direct all newcomers of the Navy. After he died, he left 1 million people dead from the war with France. France eventually won the war in 1939.
As a dynamic leader, he ruled with the one-party rule, meaning that Spain is being controlled by one leader. After the downfall of the National Forces leader, Franco rose to become dictator of Spain. Franco used forced labor to get people to comply with his tactics. His tactics consisted of concentration camps and executions that cost the lives of 50,000 individuals. Franco rose to become General of Armed Forces, Chief of State, Head of Government. Because of his title, he essentially had power over everything and made almost every decision.
After the leader of the nationalist forces, General Franco, died, Franco found his way to become a dictator. He was already the General of Armed Forces, the Chief of State, and the Head of Government. Because of his titles and the power he had, he was able to fire and appoint ministers and other important voices. Franco also had the final say in every decision, small or big, which allowed him to have even more power, hence the one-party rule. In one quote he says, "We do not believe in government through the voting booth. The Spanish national was never freely expressed through the ballot box. Spain has no foolish dreams." The quote basically said that there will be no votes, basically no democracy, and if they did have a democracy, Spain would not be able to express himself freely. He calls these ideas foolish dreams. This shows how he viewed that a dictatorship was the best government, even though this caused a lot of oppression, which he implied he was against in his quote.
Franco's mother, Maria del Pilar Bahomende, instilled in Franco the importance of a deep faith and sense of religion. This attachment to the Spanish church and Catholic religion manifested into Franco's adult life as he embedded the Spanish church into Spanish society. Franco granted the church several rights that controlled the individual religion of many people. An example of this is the outlined agreement between the Vatican and the Franco government. Some of the rights read, recognition of Catholicism as the official religion of the country, mandatory religious introduction at all educational levels in conformity, and financial support of the church by the state. Franco even went so far as to make sure Catholicism was taught in all schools, both private and public. He made it perfectly clear that the church did not rule society, and it was at his leisure and grace that allowed the church to be so prominent in Spanish society. So much so that during his reign, Catholicism became inseparable from Spanish culture and the Spanish depiction. If people decided to disobey Franco or the Spanish church, they would suffer the consequences of being ridiculed, thrown in jail, or even killed.
Control of all aspects of society. In Franco's rise of power, he maintained power in every aspect of the political system. He was the greatest source of legitimate power and a professional soldier. He despised democracy and political parties, which prompted his goal to maintain power by gaining more authority in the military and political world. Franco basically had the upper hand and authority guaranteed when he became the leader of an exhausted country that was still divided eternally due to a long-lasting civil war. His government became even more stable when the breakout of World War II started only 5 months later. He kept his military and government intact by staying on Hitler's good side with the Axis powers and kept his regime from being destroyed. He was even named the last surviving fascist dictator after the World War.
In order for Franco to take control, he utilized air power and sea power to a great extent within his military operations. However, Franco did not have a lot of advanced technology of his own for the first few months of the Spanish Civil War, like other totalitarian figures had. Franco borrowed the air and sea power from fascist countries such as Italy and Germany. Mussolini sent more than 700 airplanes to aid Franco and his army. Franco used the airplanes to harass Republican forces and drop bombs within those Republican territories.
Now that y'all know about Franco, you think he a good or bad person?